Okay, sure, sure, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so anyway,
Okay.
so you were saying you're in Thailand.
Oh
It
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
10
Yeah,
p.m.
yeah.
there. Go ahead.
Yeah.
We'll
10
officially
p.m. here in
start in a minute,
Thailand.
but I like to hear this
Perfect.
conversation. So, Anyway,
No worries. No worries. Yeah. So it's like, me and Anna Marie, who I think you met, she's my dear friend, business partner, all that. And so me and her, we've been hanging out in Indonesia for the past couple, well, like 10 days-ish or something. I don't know, like 2 weeks. And so we just got to Bangkok today because we're here for a business conference. And so we get
okay.
here and we're just like, well, let's go get a Thai massage. So we did that. And there's like this woman like literally like walked my back. And then like we went to a night market. So it's just like we just kind of yeah, hit
Hit
the
the
ground
ground
running.
running. Wow.
And
Okay.
then I found a massage. So I don't know if that counts as hitting the ground running, but I'm here.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, and then you said tomorrow morning you're gonna get up and do a bike ride.
So we're gonna go and do a catamaran ride, actually.
Catamaran. Oh,
So
okay.
I know, fancy boat. I know. It sounds
Fun.
kind of I know, I know. So I'm like, this should be pretty cool. I'll probably get, burned again. I'm like already sunburned right now, but that's all right.
Just deepen the tan. That's right.
The tan that I don't have, like Hannah, I grew up in Hawaii. Like you'd think by now in my life, like I would have gotten
Right.
tan, but no,
But
like
no.
it just stays white. I'm like, dang it.
I love it. All right. So let's go ahead and start chatting. Like this is very just relaxed and a conversational thing, right? Because
Girl,
on
start it
our,
however you want. Yeah, we're just
right,
having fun.
like yeah,
That's
I
all
love
it
this.
is.
Because the truth of this is that it's really about connecting with amazing humans who are doing amazing things around the world and who are living in their calling and their purpose, right? That's about our living iconically, right? For
Yeah, which is
remembering,
what you're doing too, and you're facilitating this. So, like, thanks for letting me
right,
come join. Like, this is
of
fun to,
course.
like, this is such a fun topic. And so I was like, what a fun conversation to have.
Hmm. Because an iconic life is very different for every person, right? Because it's about
Yeah.
who you are, who you've been called to be, and what are you doing, in your calling, right? So that's why I love it because there's no end to it, this conversation. It's so varied and so such a vast array of different types of people and whatnot. And I love it. I love it, right? But anyway, so yes, so I don't have a formal introduction for you, Megan. So I'm going to give you a second to just introduce yourself and give us a little background of who you are and what you do, and then we'll dive into some fun questions.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Yeah, no, I love this. Like, yeah, I'm like, cool, like coffee chat, It'd be great. Pinkies
Yeah,
out.
I've got
Um,
my electrolytes this morning. I don't know what you're drinking tonight. Being 10 p.m., I don't know what you want to be drinking right now.
yeah, I'm like, I know there will be no coffee at 10 p.m. I know, otherwise
Right.
I'd be like
Yeah.
bouncing off the walls all night. So
Maybe
yeah, so
some
we want that
chamomile tea or something like that.
chamomile. I know, I see some jasmine tea here in my room, so
Mhm.
I'm like, all right, maybe we'll do some
Yeah,
jasmine tea. It seems very elevated.
I would reach for jasmine. All right. So yes,
I
Megan, tell us a little bit about you.
sorry, like I keep derailing this. Like it's just too
There's
much
no
fun. I can't.
derailing. Exactly. There's
Oh,
no derailing.
goodness.
This is a beautiful conversation. So go ahead.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad that everyone's here, So like eventually I know y'all are gonna listen to this. So it's like, hello, lean in, like come in, join our conversation, grab, your cup of whatever it is that you're gonna drink. And yes, yes, your special stuff. And so welcome. And I think this is like I really was looking forward to tonight and still am, honestly. I mean, yeah, it's like it's great, because it is such a cool conversation. So before we dive into that, I guess, yeah, let me let me tell you who the heck I am. You're like, why am I listening to this lady? So I'm Megan Marler, and I am the co-founder and then also the director of Empress Club. And we are a group that is all about helping women build wealth together. And its special focus is within the Web3/crypto space, which a few years ago we originally started as Crypto Wise Women. That's what me and my dear friend
Ah,
business partner Henry Tolman. That's what we started because we were like, well, we know nothing about crypto, but it seems kind of important.
yeah.
And so let's dive in. Let's figure out what the heck this world is. We've got like 12-year-olds making millions off of Bitcoin. Like, I mean, what the heck is this world, right? So, we decided to lean in, learn about it, and start teaching it to other women, who were curious. And then with that, as we started to learn how to use it, we started getting involved in different wealth projects, different investments, different things. And then we also expanded into other hard investments, so we also, do things with silver and gold. We also learn how to invest in other things. We work with day traders and teach, we have some wonderful, very gifted members who also teach day trading. So it's all things around helping women to, learn how to build their wealth and also to, especially through Anna Marie, she's very gifted. And we've really started to focus as well on wealth energetics because I think, Hannah, and I think a lot of
Yes.
people who are probably listening to this, I think we're all probably on the same page here. It's like you can talk about wealth and, you can start trying to build it. But really, wealth starts from the inside out.
Hmm.
And if you don't feel worthy of money, if you don't feel like, oh, money's the root of all evil, like why the heck would you go and grow your
Right.
resources? It's like
It's
you
going
may
to
on the
turn you into
surface,
an evil person. Right.
yeah,
Exactly. If you think that's it.
yeah. It's
Exactly.
like on the surface, yeah, on the surface, you're saying, hey, I want to build this, and I want to do well. I want to be wealthy, and so, I mean, hey, money's just a tool. It's not bad. It's not good. It's just a tool.
Right.
But if you do have that kind of underlying belief that money is evil and I'm gonna burn in hell if I get more of it, or it just makes you a bad person, then it's like, well, okay, you're probably not. You're probably gonna inadvertently, subconsciously push it away. So we
Exactly.
do talk a
Right.
lot about the energetics and it's interesting because the way you do some things is the way you do all things. So it always leaks into other parts of your life, but we kind of consider ourselves a women's wealth group. We've also recently added on Empress Adventures, which is part of the reason why me and Anne Marie are out here in Indonesia. So it kind of started
Okay.
out as a crazy trip that we wanted to go on. I actually mostly just started because I was like, I just want to go surfing in Bali. Like, why not? And then it like spun out into this like crazy jungle trek, which is actually what we just did. So we got here to Thailand, but yeah, we've been kicking it in Indonesia, and
I love it.
yeah, we've been scouting around, and so we're definitely going to be leading an Empress adventure out to Sumatra,
Oh,
not
okay.
Bali. So it's actually the northernmost island in the Indonesian chain. And we spent time with orangutans, elephants, like just all kinds of crazy monkeys out there. Like it was a
Wow.
blast. So it was a very special part of the world. But anyway, but I'm getting
Yeah.
carried away already. I'm like, but that's a little bit about me, what I do, what I love. Like, so anyway, but let's keep
I love
chatting.
it.
Like, what's
No,
next?
I
What
love
should we
that.
dive into?
Yeah, I saw the picture of you on the creek bank with the elephants. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. So talk about living
Right.
iconically, right? Yeah.
Right. I know, yeah. I was like, hey, this is pretty cool.
So I love what you and your business partner are doing, and you're helping to teach women how to build their wealth. Because I think that is something that historically, lately at least, I would say in the near historic, that we have kind of just not paid attention to, or for a lot of different reasons, right? Some, like we already talked about, like if you have energetics around that are not clean and not around it. But
Mhm.
I am one of the people who wholeheartedly believe that resources in the hands of good people, men and women, bring
Mhm.
only more good, right? Exactly. Money is not you're right, a good or a bad thing. It's just a tool. And so I think we are meant for abundance and um, meant to do great things with these tools and resources that are given to us. So I think it's very
Mhm.
important that we do teach that to um, men and women, right? But I think a lot of times women tend to not jump into that
We
as
tend to get
quickly
left
as men do.
behind.
Right.
Yeah, especially
Exactly.
like historically,
Exactly.
like I mean, obviously, like, we want to have a lot of kindness around the conversation, like it can get a little
Yeah.
touchy. It's like, we all,
Yeah.
people feel some kind of way about wealth, right? Like, I mean, it can be a very divisive conversation, but I think it also makes things very interesting, to see what do people think about wealth.
Mhm.
And, oftentimes, like we've heard the class divide, oh, money's evil, whatever, and then like, oh, well, you got to be poor to be happy or something. And like rich
Mhm.
people just like are horrible, evil people. They don't know how to find whatever, but that's just
Right.
not true. Like,
Yeah, I don't know
again,
about you, but I've met a lot of poor people who are not happy, and I've met a
right.
lot of rich people who are some of the most amazing and generous individuals I've ever met in my life, right? And vice versa. It goes because again, money is not
Mhm.
the factor
Just a
in that.
tool.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so yes, so I love that, and I think it's really important that you guys are teaching like the energetics of it because that's something that I
Mhm.
share about and teach about as well because it is truly that's a
Mhm.
big part of it, right? And you
Yeah.
will subconsciously block yourself from being able to actually build that wealth if you don't have that understanding of it. Um, and even it goes even to our own identity, right? Which I talk a lot about as well, is that knowing who we are and what we are worth, right? Those kind of things.
Mhm.
So I want you to kind of take me back a minute, take us back a minute to maybe a time, because we all have a journey in life, right? When coming to these realizations of who we are and what we're here for. But can you take
Mhm.
us back to a moment when you maybe first made that choice or realized that you weren't going to live your life on just autopilot, doing the things that we're all told to do, that you decided you were going to choose yourself and your calling? What was going on in your life then? What did that look like for you?
Girl. So you just used a word that actually is like, I feel like this word uh, really is kind of one of my big words, I think, in my story. Like, when I think about like, because as you were telling me like what we were talking about tonight, like it's funny, the word autopilot. that you just
Mm.
said. Like that always comes up for me when I think about my story and like kind of like where the heck did I start? Like how did I get into this new life that I'm in? And really, I think it probably started, let's see, what are we, 2025? Like I think it started like 12ish, 10, 12 years ago. So I guess, yeah, to take us back to that moment, give a little bit of history and stuff. So, I grew up awesome community, well loved in my family and everything, very established, like, pretty devout community and stuff and, good lessons and everything. And so, but I was kind of living life and, you get taught and society does this, I think, probably to everybody. I think most people can relate to this where it's like, hey, you're going to grow up, get yourself an education, go to college, get yourself a job, get married, have kids, and you're going to die. Like that's kind of the story. That's kind of the narrative.
Right.
And you're right. And it's just, and you live that. Like, and I mean, and those are milestones and those are all great things and it's not bad, whatever.
Right.
I was just living life. And so about 12 years ago, this was after, I went to college and, studied and then I went to work for the government. Um, and Department of Defense and stuff, and it's pretty structured environment. And at first I was like, oh, this is cool, right? Okay, got the dream job. We did this, and this is kind of cool. This is kind of interesting, and I'm freaking bored, you know. And so I get to the point where I'm just, and and it's funny because I didn't really recognize it for what it was. That I was just like stagnant, and that I was living on autopilot. And so at the time, yeah, like I didn't really recognize it that way. Like I hadn't really gotten into the world of energetics. I didn't really know about that. Like everything was kind of more conventional and kind of traditional. And so I hadn't really thought about life that way. And it actually was, my dear friend Anna Marie, like who kind of questioned it at the time. And she was probably the first person, I remember meeting her. And she was kind of the first person in my life to suggest life can actually be better. You don't
Mm.
have to do things this way. You can actually
Mm.
do things a different way. And it's funny because it's a very simple thing, and it's, I guess, maybe more of a concept than anything to suggest that to somebody to be like, oh, well, of course life can be better. It sounds like just kind of a common trope to say that to somebody. It doesn't,
Doesn't
but
sound like
for
it's life
some,
changing in itself, right?
doesn't, yeah, like, you're just kind of like, okay, yeah.
Right.
But it's funny because it sat with me. And then, we continued to work together. And so she was already kind of working with an energetics coach and all that and kind of diving into that world of, like manifestation, and like kind of just rewiring things, not even so much, I guess, the wealth even, but like what's going on the inside, like, and kind of diving into that world of energetics and just, expansion and like, hey, things can be different. And so just kind of rewiring old patterns and opening things up. And so I started becoming really fascinated with it and started looking at other coaches. And, I know Gina DeVee from Divine Living Academy is probably one of the first like early coaches I looked at. And then, of course, our coach that we work with, Show, I mean, gosh, I mean, I came across her only a couple months ago, really. So, I mean, I'm just starting to work with her and she's amazing. But it's like, coming into this world where it was like, oh, wait, life really can be different. So it's like I'm
Mm.
sitting there at my, cubicle in the government, working my job and stuff, which I mean, the subject material of that wasn't very inspiring, kind of depressing, but like, but it was a good job and it was supporting things. But I knew that there was so much more. Like I didn't know if it was possible for me, but I started to be like, wait, what could it be? So I
Mm.
did start going down that path of, learning about what coaching is and all that, and like just how can things be better. And so over the years, it kind of morphed into that whole then focus on wealth and like, because, how can we make the world a better place? Well, I think it does start with helping people realize that things can be better and to start to realize their potential. Because, everybody, which we're talking about here, has their version of the iconic life. Everybody has their version of the good life, whatever that looks like. And something that comes up in this whole, salad of a conversation, something that's really deeply important to me that I guess that I would want people to know is that every person is a piece of the puzzle.
Mm.
And, I think everybody wants to make this world a better place. Well, how do you do that? Well, you do that by being authentic. And we do that by empowering every single person. And if every person's empowered and every person is a piece of the puzzle, so if everybody gets to be their empowered self, then they get to be that perfect puzzle piece and we all fit together and then, we can make the world a better place.
Yep.
It's like, you look at those massive issues, like, I mean, gosh, just hanging out here in like Indonesia and Thailand, it's like, you see the pollution, all that, which I'm not saying the United States is better or whatever. It's like we have our own issues, but it's like you look at all these like kind of global sized problems and everything, and I'm like, if every person's living an authentic life and like empowered, somehow we're going to find those answers together. Humans are very resilient, we're very intelligent, and
Yeah.
again, like I think when you're when you do get to have that, I guess, that courage, that space to be your authentic self, then the ideas flow. You get
Mm.
into your high flow, and then just everything gets better.
Yeah.
But again, I always get off topic here. And so I start talking about one thing, it
Absolutely.
leads me to another. But yes, but like at one point in my life, I felt like I was on autopilot. And then I got to the point where I was like, oh, wait, it can be better. And then once you start to ask that question of, well, how good can it get? Like, well, what can we do? Then you go down the rabbit hole and you choose what is it, the red pill or blue pill? I can't remember which pill it is, but you
Right,
go for
exactly.
it.
The other one, right?
Yeah,
You
one
wake
of
up,
them, whatever the good one is.
you find yourself awake in a world that doesn't, it feels a little bit like a twilight sleep sometimes. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah. Oh.
that limit is not there. So I love that. And I think again, that's we all kind of had to come in that journey of that. And that one simple question from your friend, right? Like that it seemed like such a simple question, right? But like that woke you up.
Right.
And it's so interesting because I think for all of us, we have these moments that we can like, that was my line in the sand moment or whatever, right? That kind of woke me up a little bit or made me start to contemplate and consider a little bit something differently. Because it wasn't
Mhm.
that you had a good life. You were doing
Had a
good.
great life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There was nothing wrong.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just it wasn't what your calling was, what you knew there was more,
Yeah, like it
right?
wasn't as
Yeah.
adventurous, I think, as it
Yeah.
could have been. It just seemed like, there's more. Like we're here to experience.
Autopilot. Hmm.
Yeah, it's like I think we're
Yeah.
here in life to experience truly. And so it's like, why are you on autopilot?
Right. Are we just here to make it through? Are we here to make it through by the skin of our teeth? Someone said that, but that's so interesting. Like, oh yeah, because what are we here for, right? Like, what is this
Yeah.
about here? So
Mhm.
okay, now speaking of that, we know that the road on life is not always smooth, right? There are challenges that come up, right? Where life gives us opportunity to make choices, right? And to make life, do we get to understand that life is happening for us or it's happening to us, right? That's a very interesting topic that I have definitely had personal experience with. So, can you think of a time when there was a challenge in your life or obstacles that tested you as you started to make this shift to living your iconic life? Maybe some
Mhm.
challenges that came up. And how did you decide to move through those instead of in letting them maybe define you?
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's always the fun question, right? Because I think, the challenges that come up, those do, oftentimes become some of the best teachers. And then, yeah, like it's a lot. So I mean, I can think of a lot of different challenges. So, again, I think coming from, a more conventional background, which I mean, I don't know if it's fair to say that I think everybody probably comes from a pretty conventional background, whatever that is, for them. Um, and so, I think probably some of the deepest challenges, I mean, obviously it was all in, it I think highlights like the internal struggle.
Mm.
Um, it's like believing in yourself. It's like when you're like, well, who am I to do this? I don't know anything. Um, and I think I always struggled with feeling stupid. It's funny. I think that's been one of my biggest struggles that has come up over the years. Like I can remember I always thought it was the right thing to go to medical school. And that was originally my, what I was wanting to do. And there's nothing, by the way, there's nothing wrong with medical school and becoming a doctor. Like if that's what you're doing, awesome. So long as that's what you want to do, like that's great. I thought that's what I wanted to do. And it's funny because I kept pursuing that for a long time and pushing for it. And it's funny because every time, like, I mean, I took the MCAT, did decent on it, I like took all the pre-med coursework, did great in it. And I'm interested, I love science, I think it's all great. But it's funny because every time I really tried to like push and pursue it, it just wasn't feeling right. Like I was like, I can't do this. Like this just isn't me. And I realized beneath it all, like I had this belief that I really needed to go and do something important that other people would, so they would think I was smart.
Ah,
And so I was pursuing, a version of life that I thought would make me look smart. And I was like, well, that's kind of, and it's funny because, Anna Marie again pointed out to me, she was like, well, do you want people to think you're smart or do you want to have fun? It's like that, and that message came up in so many places. And so it was like, well, how do you want to live your life? So that
mm,
was one major challenge that, I've had to work on within myself, and it's not perfect. I still struggle sometimes with that idea of like, oh man, I feel kind of dumb.
yeah.
Like, who do I think I am to like try and, lead this group, and like teach women about wealth and all that.
Isn't
I'm not,
that?
Miss Genius here. I'm not a rocket scientist or anything.
Mm,
Um, And so it's like when you have to work on that, yeah, I mean, I think we all, maybe you call that imposter syndrome or something, but um yeah, and so that is a challenge that I've had to work on and everything. And it's interesting because it's like, yeah, ultimately it's a choice. You choose to succeed, you choose to keep going, you choose to keep showing up. And I'm like, well, I do know that that this is an awesome group and that women are building wealth and that they are, building better lives for themselves. And I do know that, like you said, Hannah, like wealth in the hands of good people, of course, that's worth pursuing and helping people build because money in the hands of good people does great things. Um, but yeah, and so that's probably one of the challenges I've had to overcome. And then there have been some significant bumps along the way. I mean, I will say that in shifting and really figuring out who I am and what I really care about in life, I got a divorce over that. And so that did happen to me. Well, I don't know if I would say it happened to me. That seems kind of, passive or whatever, but it's like, sometimes along the way there are significant issues and it's okay that it happens too. I think we find out really what we're made of along the way, and you figure out and you refine what is it you really want. And
Yeah.
so I think part of living an iconic life, it starts with, well, what is your desire? What do you want to create? What kind of life do you want to have? And then as you go about, creating that, because God, the universe, whatever it is you believe, they're going to deliver that to you. So it's like you will immediately start getting inspired with actions and you'll start going down this path towards what you want or what you think you want or whatever. And whatever. I think that desire gets refined along the way. And so different things will come up. And, so I've had different challenges, that I've mentioned already, but yeah, but it's been worth it. And I'm really happy to be on this path.
Like you
So
found some good strengths from each of those situations, right? And I
yeah,
think that's one of the powerful things of all of these. It's like we get to choose what we make of these different things. And you mentioned a couple of different things, right?
yeah,
Like figuring out your worth and your value and what you're made of. That's I kind of heard that
mhm,
kind of running through both of those stories, right? Um,
yeah,
and it's so interesting because you even said like, who am I to do these things? And
yeah,
I think we all feel that, especially as women.
mhm,
I think that's something that we kind of errantly kind of chew on a
yeah,
bit as we're doing things that we feel are like too big or too much, because I think that's a very common um voice that we hear is you're too much, or that's like calm down or whatever, right? And so it's so interesting because that conversation, that question comes up as who am I to do X, Y, and Z? And
mhm,
I had to switch that around. I know in my own life, and I've had this conversation with a lot of different women, is who am I not to do this, right? It's not about me per se. It's about my calling and what I'm here to do. And I believe that there are people who are called to each of our that we are called there's people who need us, right? That need what only we can bring to this world. So those
mhm,
people are looking for the answers that we are bringing in whatever aspect of life that is, building wealth, whatever, right? All the different things that we offer. And if we are not bringing that forward, those people who are looking for it, how will they ever get those answers that they're praying for, that they're looking for, right? Like we are
yeah,
called for specific people, communities, whatever. And like you said, we're all doing our part, that puzzle piece, right? So we can help
mhm,
lift up each other and build for greater things and bringing light to this world and whatnot. So I, I,
mhm,
I know for myself, I had to switch that question was like, who am I not to do this? It's not about me. It's
yeah.
not who am I? It's about who am I not to do this work, because it's not about me. It's about who I'm supposed to reach, right?
Let's be real, because it's like, we're not for everybody. Like, I know I'm not for everybody, it's like, we can't be everything for everybody. That's why there's, billions of people on this planet. And, we all have different gifts, we all have different talents. And so,
Yes.
you're going to reach, so and so way better than I can, and I'll reach so and so better than you can, whatever. It's like, and it's not about better than or whatever. It's just like, hey, we all have unique voices, we all have unique perspectives, we all have unique talents and, just ways of seeing things and handling things. And that's the beauty of because I mean that's how we connect with people. And like it's
Yeah.
funny as I'm getting older because like, I thought I had to be everything to everybody, growing up. And I think, I know a lot of women can identify with this, and probably a lot of men too, whatever. We don't want to leave them out. But it's
Yeah.
like feeling like you have to, the need to please, right? The need to take care of everything for everybody, but it's just exhausting. And ultimately it's ineffective, it's like you can't be everything. And so
Yeah.
um
It's actually
yeah.
really freeing to know that you can't be everything for everyone, right?
Hmm.
Like it
You
takes
wouldn't
the
want to
weight
be
off your
anyway.
shoulders.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Like you get to like, oh, I get to take the weight of the world off my shoulders. Oh, thank God, right? Because
Mhm.
like I don't have to be everything for everyone. And that's actually a really beautiful truth to understand. So yeah, I
Yeah.
am right there with you.
Mhm. Hmm.
All
Yep.
right, Megan. So, um, I want to know, what does living an iconic life look like for you? So, like, for me, I like my statement is, or what I always think about when someone asks me, what does live mean to live iconically? For me, that means like remembering who I've been created to be and choosing to live from that identity, like in fullness, unapologetically, right? Saying yes to my divine calling, that even when it's messy or scary, that I'm doing the things I'm called to do, that I'm in alignment with my calling. And, for me, I'm building wealth for impact and for fun and for freedom, building a legacy, building joy from a place of overflow, those kind of things, right? So, I want kind of throw that question to you is, what does that look like to you, like in the day
Hmm.
to day, to live your iconic life? Like,
Hmm.
what does that feel like? What kind of choices or values do you keep anchored to help center you? Like, what kind of, do you have rituals that you do every day or
Hmm.
practices? Yeah, what does it look like for you?
Oh, I love that question. That's such a huge question too. I'm just
I
like,
know, right?
like an
Pull out any
explosion
little
of like
piece you want.
colors and images. It's like, oh, it's like, yeah, it's like, oh man, there's like so many words and things that come up. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could tell you like a neat, like packaged little ritual that I have. I really don't. But whenever I think of the iconic life, like what does that look like for me? Well, the number one word that always comes up is authentic.
Ah,
And, I think anything I can do to ground myself into like, okay, hey, this is Megan talking in here, okay, hey, like this is who Megan is. Like we're not um I'm not doing this because someone else wants me to do it, I'm not doing this because, but this is because I want to do this. Like that to me is so important in the iconic life. Like an iconic life is an authentic life. And so it's living consciously on purpose according to what it is you want, which for me, what that looks like is a lot of adventure. It's like growing up, I think, I had this idea of who I was, and that just wasn't me. Like it just, yeah, like I wasn't, yeah, like I wasn't being who I thought I was. And so as I've gotten older, like, and as, especially I think I like to say it's like these last like 10 years, really, as I kind of like came to discover this world of like, hey, you actually can create whatever you want. It's just been so much fun, like figuring out who I am and what do I really like. And
yeah.
it's funny because with the iconic life, I don't know why, but I feel like this kind of relates a little bit. I was just talking about this with Anne Marie the other day, and we were talking about the courage to stand alone,
Mm,
which to me that comes up a lot with, authenticity, the iconic life, like living the life that you love. Sometimes I think involves the courage to stand alone because sometimes people may not like what you do.
yeah.
Certainly not everyone has loved my choices. And, it's maybe not even so much that they didn't love it, maybe they didn't understand it, whatever, but it's been important though to keep tuning into what do I want to do. Um, so yeah, so a little bit of the courage to stand alone, which doesn't mean you have to be lonely, doesn't mean that, you're always gonna be alone or whatever, but I think it's that dedication to, hey, this is me, this is, what I love doing, this is, what's important to me, and I'm gonna do this even if it means that it's just me. So, there's that. Now,
Standing for
on
what you believe in.
yeah, yeah. So I think that's important. The iconic life is one where, you know what your values are, you know what's important to you, and you're going to go out there and create it no matter what.
Mm,
So there's that kind of, I guess, is the, kind of the guiding principle. Now, as for what does it look like maybe on a physical level, like I said, I love adventure. So in recent years, I've like discovered how much I love stuff like, surfing, snowboarding. I really love being out in nature. Those are extreme things.
yeah,
So I
you
hope
just did a
y'all come
jungle trek, right? So yeah,
Jungle Trek.
exactly.
I know. Yeah, so like my version of like the iconic life, there's there's yeah, a crap ton of travel happening. Like there's a lot of adventures. I love trying new things. And yeah, so like, my boyfriend really got me big into snowboarding this last year. And so there's gonna be a lot of fun with that. Like I said, yeah, like me and Anne Marie, we love going out on adventures. We're here in Indonesia, right? So we just did this massive jungle trek, and it's fun because that's also becoming very iconic because now we're super excited to bring back friends. We're excited to bring back, Empress Club.
Yeah.
Also for the chance to, provide some help with conservation in the jungle as much as we can. I mean, that's another question, right? Of, who do I think I am to help out in the jungle? Well, hey, why not? I'm sure there's things we can do, right?
Your puzzle
And so we
piece,
want to,
your puzzle
yeah,
piece part, right? Yeah,
we're
exactly.
all a piece of the puzzle. And so, yeah, so I'm like, well, I mean, hey, you got to start talking and figuring stuff out if you're going to figure stuff out. So, got to talk about it. But yeah, and so a lot of adventure in my iconic life, and I always do love anything that helps me get back into my body because I think sometimes, I tend to overthink and get stuck in my head. So I know dancing, listening to music, which I've done a lot of while I've been, out here in Southeast Asia. Like I have to say, Indonesians are probably some of the most gifted people when it comes to music. Like, wow. It was so much fun getting to listen to music. And then like, we just start dancing and stuff. Like it's a constant party over there. So that helps me get into my body. And then, like I said, different sports. I love being on the water. Surfing has just meant so much to me. And yeah, so I mean, those things are very iconic to me. But definitely, like I said, kind of to start off with, I think anything that feels helps me kind of really get back into my authentic self and to be like, okay, is this Megan talking? Who is talking here? Um, that's important, and I think that's important for anybody because the iconic life is different depending on who you are. Like my version of the iconic, which to me, I guess iconic means it's a good life. Like so, the good life looks different to everybody. As obviously I'm a nerd. Like I mean, I love surfing, right? But like Anna Marie, she hates surfing. I meet all kinds of people that are like, yeah, I don't want to try that. I'm like,
Right.
how can you not want to try that? What's wrong with you? But yeah, but that's a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Everybody wants different things, and so yeah.
Exactly. All right. So, all right, we've talked a little bit about the Empress Club and what
Mhm.
you and Anne Marie are creating with helping to train women on building wealth and whatnot. And I love that. I know I just joined your group as well. So excited to learn more. Um, so, I mean, obviously, you've chosen to live a different life, that iconic life that is yours, and that's what we're all about here, and to but also to lead differently. So, tell me a little bit about the like what are you most proud of in this Empress Club and or the offering that you guys are doing? Like what are you most proud of creating in this work and how are you leading that? Um, what's coming up next for you guys? Like how do you see this next season of life going for you guys with this?
Yeah. Well, as for what I'm proud of most so far is getting to teach women about crypto, which we're gonna be doing even more about that. And it's just like getting to see people feel more empowered and to like get opportunities and to be like, oh, whoa, like this is really cool. I didn't know anything about it. And to show people that it's actually pretty simple. Like it's not really rocket science. It feels like rocket science sometimes at first, but it's really cool like when you do get to teach someone and to be like, hey, like you actually can do this and it can be different. So I think that's what I've really enjoyed about Empress Club. And also, I mean, it's been a very personal journey for me too. Like I've been learning, I think, right alongside all these different ladies. And so it's been pretty cool. Um, for myself even to feel empowered about this because I think that, to do any good in this world, you got to start with yourself, right? So
Yeah.
can't really empower anyone if you're not feeling empowered yourself. And so I know for myself, like I felt kind of dumb and like I don't understand finances. I don't understand wealth or like how to, build or how can I really do this? And so it's been really cool even just to see within my own life, oh, hey, I can actually build this. And so that's been really neat. And then as for, I guess, what am I really excited about? Well, Anne Marie and I have started talking more about how, every woman in the world should have a 100K wallet. And we think that is possible. I mean, it's a big undertaking, but that's something that we want to be spreading. And of course, we're going to need many hands for that. So, especially too, like while we've been traveling around here in Southeast Asia and stuff, just thinking about, and it's not even just Southeast Asia, it's everybody in the world, including the United States. I mean, there's, and men too, like, it's not just like, not like we don't love our men. We
Yeah.
just have, do love focusing on women. Um, but we do really want to spread this, all over the world. And I think what we are really excited about is that this kind of cool decentralized Web3 crypto world is actually something that can really help, I think, address a lot of these financial differences across the globe. And how a lot of people, I think, what did they say? Calculate like 2 billion people don't really have access to banking. So we're just really excited to be spreading this world and helping basically teach and empower women how to use Web3 applications, especially a project we're working on right now. For anyone who's familiar with the founder of Tether, he's working on the world's first decentralized bank. So that's a
Hmm.
project that we've been able to hear about, and we're teaching that to our ladies. And so anybody wants more information can ask. But we're excited for those things because these are things that can help address the disparities around the world. Because as we keep saying, money in the hands of good people does good things. And so many women, I think, like, well, just people in general, when you're financially empowered, you're going to make different decisions. It's like, would you really be living? Well, if you had all the finances, if you had all the, more money than you could possibly spend, would you still be doing the things that you're doing right now? I think the
Mm,
world would look a lot different. And
yeah.
again, it's just a tool, but if we can help people learn how to use it, especially in this crypto space, because the world financial system right now is changing. And crypto is no longer an option. It's not like this optional thing on the side. I mean, I know we all have that experience where we're like, oh yeah, Bitcoin, I bought Bitcoin, back in the day and then, it just didn't work or whatever, or I got, in a crypto scam and it's just a giant scam. Rah, 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 rah. And, so I think, we have different experiences, different opinions of it, but it's almost like it doesn't really matter what your opinion is. It's like the world is changing.
It's a
And
real
so
thing and it's changing. Right, exactly.
it's a
Yeah.
real thing, and I think the more women that, learn about it and get empowered by it, well, then the better the world will be. So anyway, but
Yeah.
that's what we're
Good.
passionate about. That's what we're excited about. So yeah.
I love it. Okay. Yeah, I know I love that. And I think it's so important. Yeah, they talk about there's a major shift in wealth that is coming up and that women are a big part of that. And I think it's
Yeah.
so important that all of us, our girls are taught that, right? My daughters, like I want that passed on to the next generation, right? Um,
Yes, ma'am.
right? Yeah. So, okay, I have a couple questions, but first I want to know, like, how can people get started on this? How can women get started on learning this journey? Like, where can they find you guys? Like, what do you guys have to offer them?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I always love one-to-one conversations. So, I mean, if you have questions or whatever, want to just chat, I mean, you can always contact me. So, I know, Hannah, I think I gave you my Facebook and Instagram profile, so you can always reach out to me personally. And then I also gave you our group link for Empress Club. So that is our free group. And what we put in there, so we like to talk about different things in there. And then what we also do is we'll post different project opportunities. So that's one of the fun ways actually to really get involved with Empress Club. So what those are actual investing opportunities that you can get into. And oftentimes they have different scales. You can start wherever and put more in if you want to. But that's actually a really cool, practical way to start learning about Web3, that this new world, that's kind of big. So you can actually get involved in a practical way, start investing in different things, which is actually a really fast way to start learning about it. So, you'll learn very quickly how to set up your decentralized wallet. You're going to learn about these different exchanges, and start learning about what's possible out there. So that's kind of what we do in Empress Club, the free group. And then right now I'm actually in the process of designing an offer. So we're actually going to be having a full blown inner circle program
Awesome.
where then, yeah, then it's like everything combined. And, then we'll also be including Empress Adventures in that. We'll have focus calls, which we've already been doing those for, a few years now. And so we'll be having the weekly calls where we do talk about wealth energetics. And so in that mastermind, you're going to get access to Anna Marie Tolman, who she really is one of the most gifted people in energetics I've ever met. So she'll be leading calls in that to help people essentially in a pretty simple way to step out of current loops that may not be
Mm,
very beneficial to them and then stepping into a higher loop, So we work on that. We'll continue with those project calls, giving you practical things that you can get involved in. And then, of course, crypto education. You'll have access to day trading calls, all kinds of different things. So that's what our mastermind includes. But you can always start out with the free group. And like I said, there's still cool opportunities in there. And then we just talk wealth. And we like to highlight people and different opportunities in there. So
awesome.
Hannah will have those links. And yeah, like I said, I'm always open to one-on-one chats. I love talking with people.
Love it. Yeah, we'll definitely put all this information in our show notes so you guys can find it there. And then Facebook is where the free group is, right? That's where they can
Yes,
find you as
yes,
well at the
ma'am.
Empress Club. Yeah. Okay. So yes,
Indonesia
definitely
Club. That's
recommend
us.
jumping in and start learning. All
We're
right. So
doing
a couple last questions as we're wrapping up here. I for the person who is hearing this conversation and is feeling that tug, but they haven't quite yet answered the call. They haven't yet fully stepped into their iconic life. What is one truth that you'd want them to hold on to?
Mm. Well, the first thing that came up, so I know that feeling when you
Mm,
start to feel a tug and you're just kind of like, oh, do I do it? Whoa, should I do it? And there's kind of almost two answers that I have for that. Like when you feel the tug and, like I guess there's two possibilities, right? It's like choose your own adventure. So, you know, if not now, when?
mm,
I think, you really do get to choose to have that transformation whenever you're ready. And it doesn't get any easier the longer you wait. Now, I do think sometimes there can be a right time for things, and and you can find that flow for yourself. Only you know when it's right to jump in and to start living that iconic life, whatever that looks like for you. Um, and then the other thing I think is also, be kind to yourself. It's, obviously you don't want to beat yourself up because I know I've done that plenty of times where I've been like, oh, you're so dumb. Like, why didn't you just jump in? But it's like those are just voices. Like those are just stories that you're telling yourself. And so whatever that calling is, whatever that tug is that you're starting to feel, start flirting with it. I love how, Shosh, our mentor, Hannah, I love how
Uh-huh.
she says that about a lot of things. Start to flirt with it, start to ask
Yeah.
questions,
Get
and
curious. Ask questions.
get
Right. Exactly.
curious.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Get curious about it. And that's something, that I've learned over the years too. It's like just start asking questions. And you can ask for that kind of support. How can I make this happen? You know, ask more questions. What is it that I'm interested in here? Like, what would that look like? Oh, like, if I do try to do this new thing or, whatever, it's like, what would that look like? What could that give to me? And,
Hmm.
before you knock it down, check it out and see what, is possible there. They say don't knock it before you try it, right? It's like
Right.
anything really is possible for you. And
Get
yeah,
curious.
so it's like
Yeah.
get curious about it. It's like get curious, start asking questions, start asking, hey, okay, I would love, to do this. Okay, so what needs to be done? How can I do it? Like let's start finding some inspiration, some resources, some people. And, it's interesting, God, universe again, like whoever you like to look to for that kind of support, but it's, universe provides. So the inspiration is going to show up when you do open yourself up to those possibilities and don't shut it down. Like,
Yeah.
when you start to be like, oh no, that's too hard, or oh no, I can't do that, this or whatever. It's like, well, okay, maybe you don't really want that thing. Because that's
Mhm.
another thing I've learned. It's like sometimes maybe what you thought you wanted isn't really what you wanted, but maybe that desire is going to lead you towards something you really do want even more. So I don't know, but get
Same.
curious, start flirting with it. It's
Yeah.
like, don't shut it down.
Get open, get curious. And because I truly, and I say this quite a bit, we are limitless when we're walking in our calling and
Yes.
purpose, right? Like there is no limit. And I love how Shosh says, one plus one equals the limit does not exist. The sky is not even the limit. And that is so true. And you can see throughout
Mhm.
history, time and again, how like the impossible was done. And the
Mhm.
only thing that makes something impossible is dedication and time, right?
Mhm.
Because you put those two things there, anything is possible.
Right. Yeah.
Like, right?
And
I
it
mean,
can
it's
actually be
proven
bigger
over
than
and
you
over
think.
again. Yeah, no, I love it.
Yeah.
Like, it's so, like, when you start to think about it, it's like, ooh, you get little chills, right? If you're honestly thinking about it. No.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I love that. All right. So, in closing, I got just a couple fun, quick questions for you. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Listening.
what
Mhm.
is your favorite drink, food, or treat?
Ooh, okay. That's a tough one. Oh boy. Okay.
Just to
So
pick one, right? Yeah.
I know. I'm like, gosh, pick one, right? I know. Like I love food, so that really is a difficult question. I mean, I love hamburgers. Like yeah, like
Okay.
my
Okay.
mom's barbecued hamburgers are like the greatest thing on this planet. My boyfriend also makes amazing hamburgers. Um,
Great.
I'm also obsessed with ice cream. Like it's been funny traveling around Indonesia and Thailand. I've been like, "Where's the ice cream? I want ice cream." So I know I'm terrible. Like, it's like you should be trying all the local stuff, which I am. I am trying the local stuff, but I also am obsessed with ice cream, and I have an ice cream maker, and so I make a lot of it. I love
Okay.
peppermint chocolate chips, so I do that a lot. Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. Okay. What's your next adventure coming up?
Oh,
What's
well, well. So for you, yeah. So actually heading back to Bali. So when we first came out here a couple weeks ago, so we flew into Bali, and then we like were there for one afternoon. I went surfing for the afternoon. It was great. And then we left and went to Sumatra, the northernmost island. So like, and that was fabulous jungle trek. We'll definitely be going back. So that'll be like the next adventure, maybe. I don't know. Like we'll probably throw in some other places, but the next adventure right after we get done here in Thailand. So gonna head to Bali, which I will be sinking my teeth into some waves over there. So it's gonna be great.
nice? I love it. Okay. And then last, what is maybe a favorite book that you're reading currently or a favorite podcast you're listening to? What is one that you would recommend if you're like someone's asking you for recommendation on what to read next or listen to next? What would you give to
Mhm,
them right now?
mhm, 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 mhm. Okay, well, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I would love to give you like some kind of like smart sounding, like philosophically. Actually, I literally wouldn't. That sounds boring. But what I
Yeah,
am going to tell
no,
you, Throne of
just what do
Glass
you got?
series. Yeah, Throne of Glass series by Sarah Maas. Like, oh my
Oh,
God.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've actually,
Yes.
I know what you're
Yes.
talking about. Yep.
Yes. Yes.
So that
Yes.
you're,
So I
yeah.
mean, there's just enough spice in there. I like a little bit of spice, in my books, and then like it's just fun because it's fantasy, and I love the heroine. Like she's a badass assassin. I mean, come on, it's like it's such an easy sell. It's so fun. So yeah, so I really love those books. I think that Sarah Maas, it's just a lot of fun. You can tell she's just having fun writing these stories. I love, just different stories like that because they're so inspiring, and then you can oftentimes find yourself in the main character or whatever, and so
Mm,
I think it's a fun way to get inspired and get different ideas for your life. I mean, I do love personal development books. I think that, I've read some really great ones over the years, but yeah, most recently, pick up Throne of Glass. See if that's your vibe.
all right. You heard it here, folks.
Heard it here, folks. Yep.
Megan, thank you so much for joining us today and taking time out of your busy, busy, iconic life to, yeah, just give us some really amazing nuggets of wisdom. And I am so excited about what we're going to be doing together and learning more from you and being more involved with Empress Club. And yeah, so thank you so much for coming on today and sharing that.
Well,
Really
and thank
appreciate
you
it.
for inviting me here, Hannah. Like, this really is such a fun conversation. Like, just talking about like what does a good life look like possibilities. I mean, it's always so fun to ask what if, like, what can we create? Like, I mean, your iconic life really is waiting. And so I love what you're creating here, Hannah. And so I look forward actually to like binging all your other episodes that you've made, on this podcast. Like when I come across a good podcast, I literally do. Like I sit there and then I just like binge. So I'm excited to hear what other people have shared for their iconic life so that I can go live an even more iconic life. And yeah, and
Right.
so this inspired some folks, but thank you, Hannah. So this was a delight.
Of course. All right, guys, remember, every choice you make leaves a mark, right? So make those choices wisely and listen to that calling, that divine calling on you. Because you guys, your most iconic life, whatever that is for you, is not just waiting out there someday somewhere, right? The only moment you have is right now. It's this iconic life is one that you choose and that you create from right now. So keep choosing truth, keep choosing joy. And you guys, if today's conversation stirred something inside of you, please share it with us, right? Come find us on Instagram, on social media. Let us know how this resonate with you. Leave us a review. That'd be great. Share this with a friend because we are here about spreading the light and let's all work together as Megan shared, being those puzzle pieces to make this amazing masterpiece, right? But help us to spread this movement of men and women who are living, leading, and loving iconically. All right, we'll see you next time.